Welcome to Math Adventures. Today, we will be talking about subtracting fractions. In this video, we will talk about subtracting fractions from a whole number, subtracting fractions with the same denominators, subtracting fractions with different denominators, and subtracting mixed numbers. At the end of each section, there will be an exercise for you to practice. Let's talk about subtracting fractions from a whole number. How much is 1 minus 7/9? To answer that question, let's first talk about how we can represent a whole as a fraction. A whole can be divided into as many parts as we would like. Here we have one whole that is divided into 4 equal parts. The second whole here is divided into 5 equal parts. The third one is divided into 9 equal parts. And finally, the last one that is divided into 12 equal parts. Each one of them is a whole, but has been divided into different number of equal parts. So, to subtract 7/9 from 1, first we have to represent 1 as a fraction. As we are subtracting 7/9 from 1, we should divide 1 into 9 equal parts to have the same denominator. Thus, if we divide 1 into 9 parts and express it as a fraction, we will have 9/9. That way, we have 9/9 minus 7/9. Since both fractions have the same denominator, we only need to subtract the numerators. So, from 9 parts, we subtract 7 parts, and what is left is 2 parts out of a total of 9 parts. So the answer is 2/9. Did you notice that we only subtracted numerators, but the denominator did not change? When we subtract fractions with the same denominator, we only have to subtract numerators. Let's practice. How much is 1 minus 2/7? If you would like to solve this problem on your own, please pause the video and work out your answer. When ready, unpause the video to check the answer. Okay, let's check the answer now. To answer this question, first we have to represent 1 as a fraction. As we are subtracting 2/7 from 1, we will divide the whole into 7 equal parts. Thus, we will represent 1 as an improper fraction of 7/7. This way, we have 7/7 minus 2/7. As both fractions have the same denominators, we only subtract numerators. Thus, 7 minus 2 is 5. And we have 5/7 as denominator does not change. So, 1 minus 2/7 is 5/7. Now, let's talk about subtracting fractions with the same denominators. We have a box that has space for 12 oranges, but there is only 11 oranges in the box. We remove 4 oranges, so what is left is 7 oranges in a box with space for 12 oranges. If expressed as a fraction, we can write it as 11/12 minus 4/12, leaving us with 7/12. Let's repeat what we have done. We are subtracting from 11/12 4/12. As the denominators are the same, we only subtract numbers in the numerators. So from 11, we subtracted 4. That gave us 7. So the answer is 7/12. Did you notice that we only subtract numerators, but denominator did not change? When we subtract fractions with the same denominator, we only have to subtract numerators. One more example. How much is 8/9 minus 7/9? As denominators are the same, we only subtract number of parts in numerators. So from 8 parts, we subtract 7 parts, leaving with 1 part from a total of 9 equal parts, or 1/9. Let's practice. How much is 3/5 minus 1/5? If you would like to solve this problem on your own, please pause the video and work out your answer. When ready, unpause the video to check the answer. Okay, let's check the answer now. As we have the same denominators, we only subtract numbers in the numerators. So we subtract from 3, 1. And that leaves us with 2 parts out of a total of 5 equal parts. So 3/5 minus 1/5 is 2/5. Let's talk about subtracting fractions with different denominators. How should we subtract fractions that have different denominators? To subtract fractions with different denominators, we have to find a way to make each denominator the same in each fraction before subtracting. This is where equivalent fractions come handy. And to review what is an equivalent fraction, watch our video about equivalent fractions on our channel. Here, we can rewrite both fractions as equivalent fractions with the same denominator of 12. Thus, we rewrite 5/6 as 10/12 and 1/4 as 3/12. So 10/12 minus 3/12 is 7/12. Let's practice. How much is 3/5 minus 1/2? If you would like to solve this problem on your own, please pause the video and work out your answer. When ready, unpause the video to check the answer. Okay, let's check the answer now. To subtract from 3/5 1/2, we have to express each fraction as an equivalent fraction with denominator of 10. To do that, we have to multiply the denominator and the numerator in the first fraction by 2, and in the second fraction, we have to multiply the denominator and the numerator by 5. Thus, we have 6/10 minus 5/10, and that equals to 1/10, as we only subtract the numerators. So 3/5 minus 1/2 equals 1/10. Now, let's talk about subtracting mixed numbers. How much is 2 1/3 minus 1 2/3? To subtract mixed numbers, first we have to represent them as improper fractions. Let's represent 2 1/3 as an improper fraction. Here, the whole was divided into 3 parts. We know that because there is 3 in the denominator. So 1 whole is equal to 3/3. As we have 2 wholes, we have to multiply the numerator by 2. And then we have to add to that 1/3. So we have 6/3 plus 1/3, and that is equal to 7/3. Next, we have to represent 1 2/3 as an improper fraction as well. Here, the whole was also divided into 3 parts. So 1 whole is equal to 3/3. As we have 1 whole, we have to multiply the numerator by 1. And then we have to add 2/3 to that. So we have 3/3 plus 2/3, or 5/3 in total. Now we represented 2 and 1/3 as 7/3, and 1 and 2/3 as 5/3, and we are ready to subtract the fractions. Once we have the same denominators, we only subtract numbers in the numerators. So 7 minus 5 is 2, and the final answer is 2/3. Now it's time for practice. How much is 4 and 5/6 minus 3 and 1/6? If you would like to solve this problem on your own, please pause the video and work out your answer. When ready, unpause the video to check the answer. Okay, let's check the answer. To find the answer, we have to represent each fraction as an improper fraction. Let's start with 4 and 5/6. Here, the whole was divided into 6 parts. We know that because there are 6 in the denominator. So 1 whole is equal to 6/6. As we have 4 wholes, we have to multiply the numerator by 4. And then we have to add to that 5/6. 6 times 4 is 24, so we have 24/6, and we add to that 5/6, and that is equal to 29/6. Now let's do the same with 3 and 1/6. Here the whole was also divided into 6 parts because there is 6 in the denominator. So 1 whole is equal to 6/6. As we have 3 wholes, we have to multiply the numerator by 3. And then we have to add to that 1/6. 3 times 6 is 18, so we have 18/6. And we have to add to that 1/6, and that is equal to 19/6. So 4 and 5/6 minus 3 and 1/6 can be represented as 29/6 minus 19/6. And now we can subtract the numerators only. So 29 minus 19 is 10, so we have 10/6. 10/6 equals 5/3, or 1 and 2/3. So 4 and 5/6 minus 3 and 1/6 equals 1 and 2/3. We talked already how to subtract mixed numbers with the same denominators. What about subtracting mixed numbers with different denominators? How much is 2 and 2/3 minus 1 and 1/2? In this case, we also have to represent each fraction as an improper fraction. Let's start with 2 and 2/3. Here, the whole was divided into 3 parts. We know that because there is 3 in the denominator. So 1 whole is equal to 3/3. As we have 2 wholes, we have to multiply the numerator by 2. And then we have to add to that 2/3. That way, we represented 2 and 2/3 as 8/3. Now, let's do the same with 1 and 1/2. Here, the whole was divided into 2 parts because there is 2 in the denominator. So 1 whole is equal to 2/2. As we have 1 whole, we have to multiply the numerator by 1. And then we have to add to that 1/2. That way, we represented 1 and 1/2 as 3/2. Now we have 8/3 minus 3/2. Before we subtract the numerators, we have to rewrite them one more time. As each fraction here has different denominator, we have to rewrite them as equivalent fractions with the same denominators. The least common multiple for 2 and 3 is 6. So 6 is the common denominator for 2 fractions in our example. To convert 8/3 to an equivalent fraction, with 6 in the denominator, we have to multiply both denominator and numerator by 2. So 8 over 3 becomes 16 over 6. To convert 3 over 2 to an equivalent fraction with 6 in the denominator, we have to multiply both denominator and numerator by 3. So 3 over 2 becomes 9 over 6. Now we can subtract the numerators. So 16 minus 9 is 7. So we have 7 over 6, which is an improper fraction, or 1 and 1 over 6 in its simplest form. Now it's time for practice. How much is 3 and 4 over 7 minus 1 and 3 over 4? If you would like to solve this problem on your own, please pause the video and work out your answer. When ready, unpause the video to check the answer. Now let's check the answer. As a first step, we have to represent each fraction as an improper fraction. Let's start with 3 and 4 over 7. Here, the whole was divided into 7 parts. We know that because there is 7 in the denominator. So 1 whole is equal to 7 over 7. As we have 3 wholes, we have to multiply the numerator by 3. And then we have to add to that 4 over 7. That way, we represented 3 and 4 over 7 as 25 over 7. Now, let's do the same with 1 and 3 over 4. Here, the whole was divided into 4 parts because there is 4 in the denominator. So 1 whole is equal to 4 over 4. As we have 1 whole, we have to multiply the numerator by 1. And then we have to add to that 3 over 4. That way, we represented 1 and 3 over 4 as 7 over 4. That way, we have 25 over 7 minus 7 over 4. Now, let's rewrite each fraction as an equivalent fraction with the same denominator. The least common multiple for 7 and 4 is 28. So 28 is the common denominator. To convert 25 over 7 to an equivalent fraction with 28 in the denominator, we have to multiply both denominator and numerator by 4. So 25 over 7 is 100 over 28. To convert 7 over 4 to an equivalent fraction with 28 in the denominator, we have to multiply both denominator and numerator by 7. So 7 over 4 becomes 49 over 28. Now we can subtract numerators. So 100 minus 49 is 51. So we have 51 over 28, which is an improper fraction, or 1 and 23 over 28 in the simplest form. So 3 and 4 over 7 minus 1 and 3 over 4 equals to 1 and 23 over 28. Let's repeat what we had talked about today. A whole can be divided into as many parts as we would like. For example, 1 is equal to 4 over 4. 1 is also equal to 9 over 9. And 1 is also equal to 21 over 21. When subtracting a fraction from a whole, first we have to divide a whole into the same number of parts as there is in the denominator of a fraction we are subtracting. Then we subtract the numerators. Denominator does not change. For example, 1 minus 3 over 4 is equal to 4 over 4 minus 3 over 4, and that equals to 1 over 4. When subtracting fractions with the same denominator, we subtract only numbers in the numerator. Denominator does not change. For example, 15 over 16 minus 3 over 16 is 12 over 16, or 3 over 4 in the simplest form. When subtracting fractions with different denominators, we have to rewrite them as equivalent fractions with the same denominators. Then we can subtract numerators. For example, 5 over 8 minus 1 over 4 equals 5 over 8 minus 2 over 8. And that equals to 3 over 8. When subtracting mixed numbers, we have to convert the mixed numbers into improper fractions, rewrite the fractions as equivalent fractions with the same denominators if they have different denominators, then subtract numerators only. Rewrite fractions in the simplest form if applicable. For example, 2 and 1 over 4 minus 1 and 1 over 3 equals 9 over 4 minus 4 over 3. And that is equal to 27 over 12 minus 16 over 12 when we rewrite both fractions as equivalent fractions with the same denominator. 27 over 12 minus 16 over 12 equals 11 over 12. That's all for today. Thank you for watching and see you soon in the next math adventure.